Yo, what's up guys, on fire here back from the video, and today I'm bringing you guys my full Las Vegas Raiders ebook. Now before we get into the ebook, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you are new. Make sure you guys throw a like on this video if you enjoy the free ebook. So Raiders playbook, in my opinion, is the best playbook in the game. You got all of these great run formations and you still have some of the best pass formations, at least for a trips player. You could definitely make the argument for Patriots, Seahawks, a couple of those playbooks, but as far as the balance in the Raiders, I think there's nothing quite like it. Now, as far as the ebook is concerned, I have dropped separate videos on a lot of these formations. I've dropped a video on wing flex close, wing slot, gun trips tight end, gun bunch tight end, gun tray Y flex. So I got a lot of separate videos on these. I'm not going to go over them for too long because I do have separate videos, but I still will be talking about them, putting them all in the same place in this ebook. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to be talking about IForm Close and IForm Slot Close as far as the running meta has sort of picked up here with the newest patch. A lot more people are running the ball. It's harder to pass the ball, and that's why Raiders is sort of becoming a lot more popular than it was earlier in the year. In addition, I'll talk about strong H wing, and again, I will be going over trips, bunch tight end, and maybe tray Y flex, but again, I'll try and be going through these formations as fast as I can. Don't want the video to be 2 hours long. So I'm just going to start out of the single back, work our way down the playbook, and that's going to start with the wing flex close. My personal favorite running formation probably in the game as far as balance between running the football and having some good passing options. Now, wing flex close has always been a good offense to pass the ball out of just because it has a lot of stock plays. Now, against man coverage, not the best, but I'm going to give you guys a couple of setups. I've gone ahead, preset my audibles. I got stretch, dive, 4 verticals, and smash. And also, I'm going to show you guys the wing slot audibles because these are two formations you want to audible between. Wing slot and wing flex close. Again, I made a separate video on the single back wing slot. I'm not going to be going over the pass plays in that formation, but I will be talking about the run plays, the RPO bubble, and that halfback dive. But again, starting out in the wing flex close, we'll start out with the run plays, move on to the pass plays. I'm just going to come out into base, big nickel, cover 3. Again, I'll be talking about the man beaters a lot more as I go into the pass sets. But as far as the run formations and the run plays, I'm just going to be coming out in a base universal defense that's good against the pass and the run, and that is the big nickel over G. So, starting out with the halfback dive out of the wing flex close, you really want to use motion to get better blocks up the middle. You could obviously come out here, snap the football, and get really decent blocks and push up front. But really using motion is where you can take a run play or a run formation or a run scheme to the next level. And that'll be a theme throughout this video. Using motion, flipping, audibling, doing certain things to glitch out the defense sort of, or just get better holes up the middle. So again, the first way I like to run dive is to motion rugs over like this. That's going to open up the right side of the field or the cut back to the right side. You saw if I didn't sort of bump up or get clogged in the lane, I would have had a big hole to that right side. And again, you can't really snap him right there. You have to wait for him to cross the set and snap him right about there. But you see, look at the blocks up there. Again, we do sort of block or run into him. But again, the big play potential is definitely there. Obviously, you could motion Frank Moreau over like this, and he could pick up a weak side block, open up a hole to the left, penning, Broward's there, giving up an instant shed. Again, I could also flip the run, maybe if I wanted to just have him hand it off on the left side. That's an easier way to get to that left side without using any motion if you want a quick snap. And the really good thing and the reason that the run is becoming a lot better this year is because no one really has a universal run defense. In years past, it was 3-4 odd, or at least last year, 3-4 odd. And then the 3-3-5 wide a little bit later in the year. But this year, I haven't seen really anybody have really good run D. I myself have been switching between a couple of forms, nickel normal probably being the best one. But again, it's not like you will go into an online game and see everybody running the exact same run D. You'll see different formations, and again, they're not very good or as dominant as the 3-3-5 wide last year. But again, dive, mix in the motion. Again, you can motion anybody. You can motion tight end. The only player you can't motion in the formation is Edwards. We'll move on to stretch. Stretch, my favorite way to run stretch is typically to run it to the receiver side against a nickel or a big nickel. That might not be the best idea because you have that extra cornerback out there, as I just had the worst run stick of my life. But again, typically the best way to run it is just to quick snap it, flip it, and run it to the receiver side. You can obviously cut it up the middle, which again is probably going to be the best way to run stretch out of a compressed set. Typically out of the compressed set, if they were baseline pressed or whatever, then the outside would be difficult to run by because you're relying on a wide receiver block or whatever the case may be. But with these compressed formation stretches, you will see out of IForm Close a little bit later in the video, slot close, you really want to cut it up the middle because there's usually going to be a cornerback that has leverage on the outside. Sometimes you will be able to, but you see, even then I have to make a man miss in order to gain my 6-7 yards. So again, really try to cut it up the middle. With the stretch, though, you can obviously still mix in some motion, and that's where this Henry Ruggs motion will carry in. Again, you can still motion them over like that now. They did just get an instant shed, but using that motion will definitely open up the outside run a little bit more than it would just running it stock. Again, sometimes that player will shadow, which is not really what you want. But you still see we have a lot of push up front, and we still have a ton of big play potential. Obviously, not every run's going to be a home run, but you can also run it stock. You notice when I run it stock, though, really it's difficult to run it at tight end side, which is, the reason that I'm consistently running it to the wide receiver side, cutting it up the middle. You see, even with the block sheds, we're getting 4 yards or whatever the case may be. You can also still motion over a tight end, which will just give you an additional blocker. Pretty much he will just double team. You see I can actually cut against the grain, pick up 5 right there. So again, mixing the stretch and the dive. As far as the wing flex close, if you don't really like running it, then it's kind of difficult to call this formation because you can't really audible between all that many plays. You got deuce close, you got the wing slot that I mentioned, but you can't audible to an IForm close or whatever. So really it just depends on personal preference. But we'll hop into the 4 verticals, and I'll give you guys sort of a man-beating setup with the zone. My favorite way to run this 4 verticals play is to actually utilize this under route. If you didn't know, halfback under routes are very good this year. It's throughout Josh Jacobs. You see out of verticals, out of bunch offset, out of regular bunch. That really is good against man coverage. So we're going to use that to our ability, our best ability right here. My favorite setup is going to be putting B on a drag, and then I like to throw A on a in route and smart on him. So it's going to look like this. Obviously, if you have the tight end apprentice ability, you might want to throw Waller on a little post route, but again, this works as well. The other thing I'm going to do is just motion Ruggs out. Again, especially if it's zone, that's something I like to do. But you see Josh Jacobs, he's going to be in between the zones. If that's man coverage, he should be able to burn usually a linebacker in that one-on-one coverage. In addition to that, you have Bryan Edwards coming across the formation, and he's going to be wide open, at least against this cover 3, the stock cover 3 that you see. We got a ton of separation, pick up around 15 just on a simple drag route. So again, you notice that he's able to really get in between the zones very well. You got 2 drags. That's a really decent route combo this year, just throwing 2 drags, forcing your opponent to double flat on both sides. You can definitely hit A over that little hook curl zone that's going to pull down by the running back route. And overall, just a great play. That's really the only setup I run against cover 2. You could obviously maybe run it stock or do something like this, whatever. But I'm not going to talk about it for too long. Again, if you want more setups on that play, go check out the wing flex close video. Actually is the 3rd video I think I uploaded this year, so very solid play. But we'll hop into smash now. Now smash really is a zone beater. It's not good against man coverage. I can feel comfortable saying at all. This would probably be my best setup, just RB on a curl, X on a little flat. You can motion them out, and then usually your read, at least against cover 3, would be a low ball corner route. But yeah, smash against man coverage. We are in a man coverage meta, but again, some of these rundies are actually out of zone, so potentially are able to still hit that pass. You could go with maybe a bench concept, and then on the other side, maybe you go with like a curl flat, something like this. Maybe you throw your running back on a streak, whatever, but you can really mix in different unique route combinations like this that most people wouldn't be expecting. With that being said, we'll hop into the wing slot audibles really quickly. Again, I'm trying to go through these as fast as possible. I know the video is already at 9 minutes, which is something I did not want. But I'm trying to explain these run plays in particular the most because there's a lot of things to talk about, motioning and all that jazz, motion snapping, whatever. But we'll hop into the stretch. Stretch RPO, definitely solid, and I always like to mix this in a couple of times as we fumble. But yeah, really mixing in a couple of audibles just to confuse your opponent. That's also going to hold the safety out there sometimes if they're in a baseline or compressed defensive set. When you audible to this, it brings out one of those players, and then you can actually run stretch, and usually you have a lot better push. You see there's not less players on that tight end side than when I was running it out of the wing flex close. But again, mixing the RPO, mixing the dive. a couple times, especially if you're running wing flex close a lot. I definitely would recommend doing that, as we just got a glitchy animation, but you see a very solid formation to mix in. With that being said, we'll hop into our next couple of sets. And again, when I'm doing this ebook, I really want to sort of talk about two formations at once. And for this set of audibles, it'll be the IForm Close in close, or slot close. Last year I think it was called close slot. IForm Close, very solid formation. Here's a look at my audibles. I like to have wide receiver out, stretch, dive, and power out. It's really more of a running set. It's not the best against the pass because you don't have all that many man-beating routes. Obviously, if you're using Hot Route Master or whatever, then, you know, sky's the limit. But in just the case that you're running regs, pretending that you don't really have any abilities, I'll just give you guys one passing play for now. So moving on to the close slot. Again, really not a passing set, but I will give you guys the stretch of the blast. A very good combo. And the good thing about these two formations is they actually go sort of hand in hand, and you'll see why in a little bit, but pretty much the reasoning is that you can actually audible between these and get a little glitchy motion block animation. Alright guys, I'm going to start out in the IForm Close, and then a little bit later I will show you guys all of the audibles, all the motion that I'm talking about, or just like the motion, the flipping, all that other stuff a little bit later, the audibling between formations and things like that. So I'm just going to start out in the IForm Close. And you see that I actually switch the ball to the middle of the field because this formation does get kind of awkward when you're on a hash mark. I just kind of like it from the middle of the field. Obviously, you can still run it from a hash or whatever, but usually I like to run it with my tight end on the right. That's me personally. And I'm actually going to start out with the Power O. So Power O, it's a very solid run pretty much out of any formation. Now, my favorite way to run this is going to be flipped. You notice that right there. It actually got blown up, so you want to run it flipped, and you're going to be patient. So I'm just going to let go of my right trigger. I'm not going to hold right trigger, and then once my pulling right guard picks up the block, I'm going to hold right trigger. So you saw, I think this is Gabe Jackson, the right guard. Notice how he's going to pull. I'm going to wait for him to pick his block, and that time I didn't wait enough. So you want to be patient, kind of like Le'Veon Bell in the NFL. You just sit behind the line, you wait for the blocks to develop. But really with this, I'm going to wait, and then he picks up his block, and then I can cut up field to the second level. Very solid way, or solid play. The other way that you can do is just flip, and you can actually motion Ruggs over. So it's going to look like this. You motion him over, you snap the ball, and then I don't really have to wait as much. Obviously, the fullback just whiffed on his block right there. But really a lot of big play potential, especially when you can just come out here, quick snap the football. Notice there, obviously, if you want, you can sub in a faster guard. This guy's definitely not fast at all, but you can also sort of, oh geez, wait, what? My player just got completely turned around, but again, you see solid play to mix in. Over G is really good against it because you see you got the safety coming down, I think, over here, and then you got the slot corner. So it's a pretty solid against the IForm Close, but right there you saw a ton of big play potential. That was just a bad cut by me and a super slow guard. But again, Power O, very solid play. A lot of people run it. You can obviously use motion or whatever you want. Next up, we got just a base dive. I think you guys all know about dive. Dive's really the plays that you don't really have to use motion, that people don't really like to use motion in. You can just run it straight up the gut, quick snap somebody, and pick up a ton of yards. If you wanted to use motion out of the dive, what you could do is just motion Ruggs from right to left across the formation the same way you did in Power O. Snap it like this, and then maybe you bounce out or whatever. Obviously there, the middle was still wide open. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of just sitting there and running halfback dive. Me personally, I like to go with stretch. I can show a little bit of stick work, cut it upfield. I feel like dive is just very, very boring to do. But it still is effective. You can still pick up around 4 or 5 yards of carry, and there's obviously always big play potential. I just noticed that I get completely shedded every time I run the dive, and I feel like it's a little bit worse this year, at least than last year. But you see there we got a huge hole up the middle. So again, good to mix in. I don't think it's that fun to run if you're a runner maybe, but really not as much big play potential, not as much, cool highlight potential. Still effective though. Moving on to the stretch. We all know about halfback stretch. You can just simply call it like this as, geez, they all ran to the outside. I guess you would want to get to the outside. Usually just running it stock is not going to be the best for getting to the outside. Oh, I accidentally just called the wrong play there, but you see there's the Power O working. But yeah, for stretch, You really are going to want to use motion. It's not as good just like running it straight at somebody, but there you see bad stick work, but the hole up the middle was pretty big. You can cut it outside as well. And again, stretch out of the IForm Close is going to be better with the motion. So again, you will see a lot of people online that run this formation. They're going to run the stretch flipped, and then they're going to motion rugs or the tight end over like this. Sometimes if people are base aligned or whatever, then those players won't travel across the formation, which is the reason that they like to use the motion. And if you want to ensure that nobody's really going to travel or follow somebody across, but you want to get an edge on that side, you can just motion the tight end. You notice that nobody's going to follow Mo over there, and you get an extra blocker. You can cut up the middle like right there, still go to the outside. So that's by far the best way to run stretch, probably in the entire playbook. Just that flip, you motion someone over. If you want, maybe you could do like something like this where you sort of bluff him that you're running it to the left and then still run it to the right. Oh, geez, Waller just got absolutely manhandled by Harris right there. But you see, you can really use deception, motion deception. Maybe I'd go like this where I actually motion Waller over, and then I can maybe flip the play, and you see he's going to realign, but that's a way that you could do a little motion and then audible, and then run it to the strong side. You notice that maybe we get better alignment doing that, and we actually did get better blocks. So again, mix in certain things like that, certain weird, motions and audibles. But with that being said, we'll hop into the wide receiver outs, just a base play. Pretty good against zone. You can really quick snap this, just block your running back, put X on a hitch. You got the hitch to the post, and then you got this little flat to curl flat concept. Definitely a solid route combo to mix in. The other thing you could do is you could go ahead and, I think you can throw your running back. No, he actually goes to the wrong side. Usually if I was on the left hash mark in this case, I'll just respot it really quickly for this play. Then you can throw your running back on the wheel route, and he will go to the correct side. So it'll look like this. And throw X on a hitch, block your fullback in this case. And that's a pretty good route combo, obviously, against man coverage. That post route is going to be good against man. And if you want a dual man-beating concept, then throw X on a little slant route. Maybe I just throw B on like an out, and then I can sort of max pro like this. Decent route combo. And again, you're expecting someone to like sort of blitz you or just drop a lot of people in coverage. And usually the run Ds are with linebackers blitzing, things like that. So they're not going to be able to do double flat or even single flat when doing that concept. But again, I'm just going to show it a couple times. Really don't like to pass out of the IForm Close, and especially if you don't have like any route abilities or a hot route master ability, it's going to be very difficult to do that. So again, I'll show you guys the audible from IForm Close to IForm Slot Close. And again, what I'm going to do is just simply audible, and then I'm going to flip my run to the left side, and then I'm going to snap him. So you see you can get that little motion snap, and technically you're running it out of the close slot as our player just didn't make a block right there. But really that's the best way to do it. If you don't want to like motion someone over, you can just go like this, flip the play, and then you can snap him right there. You notice, again, terrible stick work. Should have cut that up the middle. But again, that's a good way to audible between formations and get a motion block. The other way you could actually do it is maybe run blast, because that's a play that you don't have in either set of audibles. And then I can get that motion block. And you see this is by far probably my second favorite play out of these two formations combined. It's just really good, especially with that motion block. You're going to call it a blast. It's already on that side, you don't have to flip, and then you just spam A, and he will go ahead and snap the ball as soon as he can with the motion. Very good play to mix in, very rare play that you see online that is still very effective. And again, you can combine the stretch, you can combine the blast. Very good plays. Both are very effective in online gameplay. One more time, I'll show the audible from IForm Close to Slot Close, and then I'll show a Slot Close to Close audible. So you'll see both sides of the argument, both formations. Again, I just refuse to cut it up the middle. I don't know what's wrong with me today, but you can see my stick work is not on point. So I'll show you guys, I'll just come out in IForm Slot Close, and then we'll audible to the IForm Close, show you a good way to get that motion snap from left to right. So I'm in slot close, and then I can audible to IForm Close, and then again I'm spamming A. He's going to snap the ball right there, get a little motion animation, and now I finally cut it up the middle. But you see that's a good way to get rugs without having to motion to the left and then motion him to the right. I can just obviously you would come out in the slot close and then audible. You wouldn't come out in close, then audible back, because that's how you get a false start. But really, I would go from slot close, audible to, or IForm close, then I can still run ISO, I can still run power O, I can still even pass. But I can get the motion block like this, I spam A, I could even flip my run, do whatever I want. And you see the blocks develop a little bit better. So with that being said, we will hop into our last plays, which will be mainly gun trips, and gun bunch tight end. Alright guys, I actually lied. I'm going to come out in this strong H wing before we get into the gun setups. Now, strong H wings, a formation I don't really run myself. I never run this formation, but I have seen people run it. It's very good. Some of the pro players I have seen run it just because the blocks develop very effectively. But you see my audible, stretch, dive, power O, and F trail. Now the problem with this pass play is sometimes when you come out in the pass play and then audible, the player has to like back up. I can't show it right now, but if you were to come out in F trail and audible stretch, this player would be aligned like inside. He would go back out again. You won't see it here, but that's just something to point out. Just coming out in the stretch, look at the blocks. You see the blocks just absolutely dominant up the field, and you're going to really just come out here, snap the ball, and it's like just very good. Look at the blocks. We're one block shed away every play from a touchdown. It's one of the most frustrating formations because a lot of run defenses just do not like work against the strong H wing formation for whatever reason. Like last year, 3-3-5 wide, 3-4 odd did not work against this formation. And look at the blocks. You see, you're not going to have the best blocks on the outside, which is why I'm cutting it upfield every time. But it's a walking 10-15 yards play. Look at that. You see the edge guy actually got sealed, so if I wanted to, I could have cut it out in that instance. But stretch, very good. You can always throw the RPO if that player commits. Right there, he didn't. I just wanted to show an example. So if you were on a blitz instead of like a purple zone or a yellow zone, then that's something you could do. But again, you see I'm literally one guy away from a touchdown. Now really with the stretch, you won't use motion, but if you wanted to bluff the dive, something you could do is actually motion them across like this, and then still call it a stretch. That's a little bluff that I like to do, and you see you can still cut it up, still pick up 10 yards, so you're not really losing too much. But back to the dive, the way I run dive always is going to motion this player over. That's why I said you can bluff it, stretch and dive. That's a really good way to run or dive. You're basically turning it into a strong tight formation, which I'm not going to talk about today, but that would be a little way that you could turn it into it. And again, you're just motioning Witten or that second tight end over. You're motion snapping, and look at the blocks up middle. You see I run into my guy. I still have a ton of yards to be gained up the middle. So again, mix that in. You got power O. Power O, the RPO is very terrible because it's a little smoke screen. And really, I don't like power O's at all out of these strong formations or like weak formations. But they're decent. Occasionally they can pop off, but you see really we're getting blocked. I just sort of threw this play in because you always need a fourth audible. Again, I don't run this. When I'm running this formation, which I really don't do too much, I'm running stretch, I'm running dive. And again, you see I accidentally flipped. But you still can gain 5 yards. Maybe it's good to mix in if this is your only formation you run, and then you can do that. So moving on to our pass play, very good pass play stock. All I would say you want to do is smart route X and probably smart route A. But you got a corner route, you got a post route, you got a drag, you got an angle route, and then usually I would, buck my running back if you want. You can throw him on a wheel. Obviously, you want the wheel to go to the right, so I'll just block him in this case. But decent play to run stock. You see you got the angle route, you got the post route. Make him pick one and throw it to the other. Simple concept. And again, if you're getting someone to commit to the run, then you can just sort of relatively quick snap this play. Again, you're making 3 hot routes, but still very simple. Look at the post route. Gets in a beautiful spot in between the zones. Really nice post route right there. It's quick breaking. It's good against man as well. This corner out, it's not good really against man. It can be good against zone. You see how it sort of would get into a decent spot when you smart out it. But if you want it deeper, you can, go ahead and leave it the same. And obviously, if you want a flat zone, maybe you throw B on a flat instead of a drag. You can motion him out, motion snap him, and that would open up the corner out like a little bit more. Obviously, if I would have smart routed there, he would have been wide open. But yeah, decent play. And with that being said, we'll hop into the gun now. Alright guys, now I'm going to hop into the gun trips tight end. I can't really talk about it in full because I actually do not have the tight end apprentice ability, but you can still give a couple of setups, and again, I'm not going to go over every single play in the offense. I'll go over just a little bit of them, but again, trips tight end is still a good formation. If you don't have tight end apprentice, it's still usable. So we'll talk about it briefly, but again, better with tight end apprentice. I've done 2 full videos on this, one specifically against man coverage, one against zone in particular. So if you want the full guide to trips tight end, you see this is probably my most called formation. This is what I run on offense right now, and that's the reason that I'm actually in Raiders playbook. So I'll start out. Here's a look at my audibles: X spot, IZ, verticals, and PA counter go. The other play I think I'm going to talk about is going to be PA shot post. And then you got curl flat, which I won't talk about, but it's a good play. You'll see if you want to watch my other video how good that play is. So I'll come out in PA post shot, and again, I think I'll just run man coverage, stock 2-man under right here. And I'm actually going to respot the ball, but again, I'll focus on man coverage because that's all anybody runs online. There's no reason for me to show you zone. So I'll start out in the PA post shot. You're going to put B on a zig, you're going to smart out X, and then with A, usually I would throw him on a post. You can throw him on a streak though, and then maybe I throw RB on an option. So it's going to look like this. If it were zone, I would motion Renfro in, snap the ball, but you're just going to snap the ball regularly in this case. You got the zig, you got the crosser that's going to be good against man. You see a slow guy like Hunter Renfro. He's probably like 90 speed or even less, probably like 89 speed. Able to get separation on a pretty fast corner, I would say. You got X, which is a good man-beating route as well. Anthony Edwards is like a 70 overall, so he's not going to get any separation. You got Aguilar as well on this little zig that can get separation. You see we got a couple yard separation. Obviously, if that were a better player, you'd get better separation. But really, man coverage is annoying, and especially me trying to show you with these low overall guys. It's not going to be the best, but we can still show the routes. You see, you get a little bit of separation. If that's an accurate pass, that's still completable. But if you have like route technician, you have a better wide receiver, that's a better pass to throw. Again, with the crossing route, the crossers are the best way to beat man coverage, really, in my opinion, this year. And that's why I like trips a lot. So you see Renfro, he's going to get separation. Moving on, I'll hop into verticals, and this play is not good against man at all, I will say, but this is the setup. Be on a zig, RB on a wheel. I like to motion Renfro in, but against man you can't, so you'll throw him on a backside slant like this. You got the corner that'll beat man, and then you got this little slant that'll beat man. You got the zig that sometimes beats man if they're shaded over the top. It will. If they actually shade underneath, they have bench press, then your zigs will never get open. But again, you'll put B on a zig, Y on a backside slant. If you want, you can throw X on a backside slant, but again, I like X on that sort of fade route. See the corner out, it's going to be good. This is obviously a better play against cover 2, cover 3. You will usually have either that wheel route open or that corner out against either of those coverages, pending double flat. But yeah, moving on, we got inside zone, just a base inside zone. I don't call this play enough. But really, the best way to play offense, I've said this multiple times in all my videos, is to be balanced. You want to run the ball, obviously at a bunch that sort of limits you. Like if you're in a bunch offset, there's no good runs out of that formation, so you are kind of limited depending on what you run. But trips, you have good inside zone. If you're in Chargers playbook, you got a read option. So really do work with this. You see, geez, I don't know who that offensive lineman is, but he needs to be cut immediately because he gets consistently instant shedded. You see the big play, but the potential is there, and it's a good play to mix in. Obviously, going to be better against dollar 335, but you see we got some nice holes to the left side in particular, and yeah, you want to mix that in. Again, you're not going to run inside zone once every 2 plays, but mix it in a decent amount. Moving on, we will hop into the PA counter go, another good man coverage play because you got B on a crosser. Again, usually I would put A on a post. We don't have that, so you're actually getting different setups that I usually would never show. You're going to put Y on a zig, and you're going to throw X on a backside slant. It's going to look like this. If you want, you can also throw Y on a drag and an X on a backside slant. You got B, that's going to get wide open. Look at the separation on B. You got, obviously, the X on the backside slant. It's going to get wide open, but again, just a very all-around universal good setup to run against zone and man. Again, Y on a drag, X on a slant, A on a streak. You can block your running back, or you can leave the play action if you want. Motion snap him as soon as you can. And you see, look at the backside slant. You got very good separation, even with a low overall wide receiver. I showed you how open the crosser gets. The drag, obviously very good against man coverage as well. Moving on, we got X spot. Definitely a very good play. If you have tight end apprentice, you would throw A on a crosser. In this case, we don't have that, so we're going to make do with what we have. What I would do is throw B on a slant, A on a flat, block my running back, and then motion Renfro over. You got that little spot route. You got the post. You got the slant. 2-man beating routes. This post is very decent against man coverage as well. Very good against zone also. But yeah, really, you're just using trips. You got crossers, you got posts all across the formation. You can definitely make things happen. Again, usually the runners, people that run Raiders, are looking to run the football, and then if they get in the 3rd and 10, they can hop into trips. Your opponent's not gonna know what you're running. So, especially if you're only running trips like once, a couple times a drive, you're gonna have a lot of dots cooked up out of this formation that he's never gonna see. And it's something you can definitely sneak in, especially if you're a guy that likes to run the football 20 plus times a game. Obviously, you got this slant route. Look at the separation, just pressed, absolutely torching him off the press. And yeah, X spot, very, very good play to run. So that's pretty much going to do it for trips. I'll hop into bunch tight end briefly now and again. But really, when I'm running bunch tight end and trips, I'm calling trips heavy. And then what I like to do out of bunch tight end is just audible to the inside zone. This inside zone is very good. You see, look at the blocks compared to the trips tight end. You see, I'm actually going to get a touchdown here just audibling between those. And this is the reason I like bunch tight end to have. Again, I'm never really going to pass out a bunch tight end. I might not even show you guys the setups. If you want passing setups, you can watch my separate video on bunch tight end. But you can actually get a little motion snap animation. You saw Bryan Edwards. He got a little motion snap animation coming from that left side to the compressed set. You see the inside zone again, picking up 10 plus yards, and I'm just spamming A. He gets that little set animation. Look at the blocks again. So if you're like in a run form, or you're like, you're going to run the ball display, you're like, oh, he's in dollar. I want to get better blocks. I can audible to bunch tight end and pick up blocks. This is something that's very underrated to do. It's just audible to a better run set and run the ball. If you don't have to handicap yourself running inside zone out of trips. You can audible, have success. And that's also something you could do if you wanted to. You could audible to Trey Y Flex. Again, I'm not going to talk about Trey Y Flex, but I have a separate video on that as well. But again, it's a better inside zone. Right there, it didn't work out because you were on the wide side, but something you could do. So that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. If you guys enjoyed, want another ebook, I think I'm going to post the Patriots one next. Let me know if you guys want that Patriots ebook. Got tons of great sets. U-trips, trips, bunch, split close, gun ace slot, ace close, everything in that playbook. So let me know if you want that. And yeah, with that being said, I'm going to end it there. Peace. I'm out of here.